Hello everyone. Today's poem is Wang Feng, Tu Yuan, A King Went from the Book of Songs. This poem is a little bit special in the Book of Songs. It's a complaining poem. Very likely, a king complains his father or the previous kings. And I guess or I believe this poem was very likely was written by Zhou Pingwang, the first king of the East Zhou dynasty. And with this poem, he complains his father, Zhou Youwang, the last king of the West Zhou dynasty, that his father don't do his duty. He don't serve the country, serve the citizens, serve the god well. Thus, the West Zhou dynasty collapsed. So many killings and mishaps. Even the king was slaughtered by the savage tribes. And they also moved from their ruined capital to the new place, the Luoyang city today. So there's too many miseries, mishaps, and killings happened. Okay, let's get to the poem. It's quite simple. Basically, the three paragraphs is almost identical, and they are telling the same story, but with a little bit different aspects. Okay, the first paragraph. 有兔圆圆至离于罗 The rabbit was moving around slowly, and the bird of pheasant was captured by the net. Okay, the character 圆圆 yuan means at somewhere. So the double character 圆圆 means at somewhere and then move around at another place. So it's expressed a status of very safe, very slowly, and very enjoyable situation. So the rabbit described in the first sentence is living in a very happy and peaceful life. And in my opinion, the rabbits refers to the people on the ground. So if it was the king was writing about this poem, the people on the ground is all the citizens, all the people under him. So he think that all my people, all my citizens, looks like they're living a quite peaceful life. 至离于罗 The pheasant bird was captured by the net. Basically, 罗 is a kind of basket. It was always used as a tool to capture the birds, just like this picture. So the people hide away with a long rope to a stick. So when he draw the rope, the basket will collapse and cover the bird under the basket. The pheasant bird normally refers to people with a very, very high position and very likely referring to the king. So here, I believe the pheasant bird in this poem referring to the king who was killed by the savage people. The king, the last king of the West Zhou dynasty, right? He was killed by the savage people. And so 至离于罗 the pheasant bird was captured. Basically, is a metaphor referring the last king of the West Zhou dynasty, Zhou Youwang. He was captured. He was killed by his enemy. We know that the Zhou people taken the phoenix bird as the bird of king, not the feathered bird. But in the previous dynasty, the Shang dynasty, the Shang people take the feathered bird as the bird of king. There's two poems can prove this. One is 商颂玄鸟 in the Book of Songs, of course. And the other poem is in Bei Wind, the Bei Wind, 雄志. So they all referring to the ancestors, either the king of the Shang dynasty. So here, the poet borrowed the image or the metaphor of the Shang people, not the Zhou people. So he used the feathered bird to refer the last king of the West Zhou dynasty, and who was his father actually. So it make the sadness or the blaming a little bit softer or much easier for the readers, or as well as for the writers when he write this poem, right? It's not the sort of the finger pointing, it's a sort of the indirect way, and the indirect way is a major characteristic of the Chinese classic poetry. But still, the blame, the sadness is still there. Let's continue the second pair of sentences. 我生之初，尚无为. When I was just born, my father, my king, you don't do anything. 上 is a very clear indication to referring to a king as well as to his father. And there is one of the 5 classic books, 尚书, which the Shang means the king, and the 尚书 means the speech, the announcement made by those kings. And here, if we go deeper, Wei, you can see that Wei is something they are preparing for the sacrifice through the character, the ancient character. And the downside is someone was preparing the sacrifice, and the upper side is the logo represent the heaven was taking the sacrifice from the people on the ground, from the king in the human world. And so 我生之初尚无为, it tells us very clearly that when I was a junior, when I was young, my father, my king, you don't bless, you don't make your sacrifice to God. So that's a big mistake. Okay, let's see the third pair of sentences. 我生之后，逢此百离. When I was grown up, when I was pretty old, when I was a king already, I encountered hundreds of mishappenings. 离 mishappens. So I encountered hundreds of mishappens. 尚寐无聪. The fourth sentence. My king, you sleep there, you don't move anymore, you don't have any movement. Yes, of course. The previous king, his father, was killed and died and maybe buried somewhere already. He cannot move anymore. Okay, the second paragraph. 有兔圆圆，至离于福. So it changed the last character, but it's with the same meaning. The luo in the first paragraph is a kind of basket to use to capture the bird, and fu is a net to capture the bird. So basically, the first pair of sentences in the second paragraph is the same meaning with the first paragraph. The things, the creatures on the ground, they live a peaceful life. They're moving around somewhere here and there. They are so happy. But the birds up there was captured and killed. 我生之初尚无躁. When I was just born, when I was young, my father, my king, you don't make your words to God. So which means you don't bless to the God. You don't talk to the God to ask the fortune, to beg the fortune from the God. 造 basically means to go to the God and bless. Okay, the next sentence. 我生之后，逢此百忧. When I was grown up, when I was a king, I encountered hundreds of unhappiness, worries. You today it means worries, but in those times it means something disturbed your feelings, something really different, disturbed your heart. And if you lead a normal life, everything should be normal in the normal way. So that's the best life we can live on. But if the life has so many specials, has so many things different, it's a trouble or disaster. So you can see the right part of this character. You means something special, and something special affect your heart. The left part, the left radical, represents heart. So that's finally it becomes today's meaning. You, the worries. Okay, the last sentence. 尚寐无觉. My father, my king, you sleep there and never wake up. 觉 means wake up. So we have two paragraphs already. So it's on the surface, it looks like the king, the poet, murmurs something to his passed away fathers. But actually, I can tell you, this is a ceremony to the ancestors. And this is all the words that the king, the current king, the Zhou Pingwang, was talking to his passed away father. So that's the tradition of the Chinese, even till today. The fortune was blessed, was begged from the ancestors as well as from the God, because he is the king, right? For the normal person, you only beg the fortune from the ancestors. If you are a king, because you are the son of the heaven, 天子, right? So you have basically two ancestors, the real ancestors, your father, your grandfather, and the virtual ancestors, the God, the heaven, right? So this paragraph basically is a typical ceremony, a sacrifice to the ancestors. But here, because hundreds of mishaps, hundreds of weariness made this blessing, this begging for fortune, not a begging, not a blessing, but a total, a pure complaining, right? Compliance. The normal people, they still lead a normal life. They lead a happy life. But as a king, I experienced hundreds of misfortunes, hundreds of worries. But when I was begging to you. 无恶, you don't move, you don't wake up. So in the ceremony, the Zhou people believes if they are really make the good blessing, they do it in the right way, they will see, they will feel their ancestors revive again in front of them. Of course, the revived ancestor will give them fortune and talk to them. So this is the believing of the Zhou people. They think they should see their ancestors when they are do the sacrifice, do their blessing in the right way. And of course, they also use an actor, normally the grandson of the ancestors, to be an actor, to behave in this ceremony. So that's part of the whole ceremonies, and which also may arouse some illusion to the people that they see their ancestor again. So the third paragraph, 有兔圆圆致离于冲. So 冲 is also is a kind of tools to capture and kill the bird. So it's of course has the same meaning with the first and second paragraph. The normal people, the rabbit, they lead a peaceful, happy life. And here and there. So here and there, it also is a metaphor or implies that they moved from their ruined capital in Xi'an today, right, to the new capital, Luoyang or Wangcheng. So that's why the poem written in this place was so called as Wangfeng, the king wind, because the city was so called as Wangcheng, the king city. So the feathered bird, the king, was slaughtered, right? 我生之初尚无庸. Yung here is to make the sacrifice. So it's also referring to the worship to the ancestors, to beg their fortune from their ancestors. So it's all the same thing in all the three paragraphs. So it's a blaming, right? My father, my king, you don't make the sacrifice to your ancestors right. And thus, when I was in charge, when I was a king, when I was an adult now, I encountered hundreds of disasters. 凶, the disasters, normally, especially referring the deaths. So I encountered hundreds of disasters. 尚寐无聪. My father, my king, you sleep there and you don't listen. Right? The last sentence tells us very clearly, it's a ceremony, it's a sacrifice held in the ancestor temple. The poet, the current king, the Zhou Pingwang, he was make his words, he tried to bless to his ancestors, his father, but his father don't listen to him. Of course, he won't have a good result, a better life. Of course, because all the fortune, the luckiness, the assets, the peaceful life is the gift from the ancestors. That's the believing of the Zhou people. So far, his ancestor, his father, was dumb. He didn't listen a word from his descendants, from his son. Thus, there is no fortune given as well. It's a very, very strong blaming poem to the king, to the previous king, to his father. So you can feel the fury, the sadness, the whatsoever inside this poem. And thus we can feel something really, really bad happened on the ground, in the country, right? Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.